This video is going to cover workflow automation within your CRM. Workflows are a way to help automate and streamline your internal business processes and help create consistent experiences to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. The automation happens when you set up the triggers for specific actions that are taken with the contacts. To create a workflow, hover over the Automation dropdown and select Workflow Manager. This page is where you'll see and manage all of the workflows created within your account. You'll see the activities as well as groups assigned to the workflows. Along the right is the Workflows Activation chart. Here you can see what types of workflows have been triggered. You can use the chart key along the right to streamline this graph and click on any of the chart elements to pull up a list of contacts. Click on the Create New Workflow button. Give your new workflow a descriptive name, which is used for reference throughout the account. Then you can also assign the workflow to a folder for organization. Add notes for your internal team about why this workflow was triggered and what it is intended for. The maximum activation rate is how often you want this workflow to be triggered for any specific contact. By default, the activation rate is set to once per day. If you set this to 0, it makes an unlimited amount of activations for your contacts. You can assign this workflow to a specific group, all groups in your account, and you can also create this workflow using a template of a previous workflow created. Once you've added the basic workflow information, continue to save. Within the General tab, you can manage any of the information we just added along the left. You'll also see the workflow trigger chart along the right, where you can manually see any activations for this specific workflow. When this workflow is triggered, you can notify anyone on your team using their email address. Then either use the system template or a template you have created in your media library. If this workflow was triggered for a contact in an opportunity, you can alert the opportunity manager. Next, we have the sending actions. This is where you can immediately send emails to your contacts. If you have purchased a phone number, you can also send SMS or MMS text to your contacts. You can send quotes or invoices, documents, and many more options within the Sending Actions area. The Trigger Actions tab is how you want to move the contacts throughout your CRM. Here, you can create conversion codes, charge a credit card on file. You can identify a specific drip campaign to trigger for this contact. You can also manage where in the drip campaign email sequence you want this contact to go. Send web service requests to other servers, as well as manage how the contact is moving through your journeys. You can start the contact on a journey, pause, resume, or stop any journey that the contact might be on. Next, we have the Modify Contact tab. Here you can manually adjust the group assignments for the contacts by adding them into a new group and/or removing them from a specific group in your CRM. The Set Contact Data allows you to update any of the user fields connected with the contact. Depending on the different options available for the user field, you can update the value of that field to anything you specify here when the workflow is triggered. Otherwise, you can append contact data, which adds any new values to the pre-existing user field in the contact CRM. You can add or remove tags from the contacts record, as well as add a campaign ID to the contact. If this workflow is triggered within an opportunity, you can identify the type of phase path, as well as the specific phase that this contact is moving into when the workflow is triggered. Workflows are a great way to create and assign workflow activities for you to follow up with your contacts in the account. Click to add a new activity. Here you'll define the type of activity you wish to create, then assign it to either the main account holder or any shared access user that has permissions for this contact. You can select if you'd like to alert the assignee when this workflow is triggered. You can select filtering options for who the activity is triggered for, as well as set reminder alerts an hour or 24 hours before the activity becomes due. Add any notes for your team about why this activity was triggered. Once the activity is completed, you can also have another workflow trigger. You can have this activity be a once-off or a reoccurring activity. Next, you can set the activation rate, which is the delay from when the workflow is triggered to when the activity is due. The normal activation is for any contact within your account. and the delay can be set to business or calendar days at a specific time. Or you can create this as a completed activity, which just keeps reference within the contacts record. If the contact is within an opportunity phase path in your account, you can have a custom delay set for when this activity is due for that opportunity. Once you have added and reviewed the automation to trigger within the workflow, continue to save the workflow. To have this workflow automatically trigger for new contacts added into the group, you'll first want to make it available to your specific group. Then, you can automatically trigger the workflow for contacts added into this group manually by sign-up form or an email clicked within the link library. Review the workflow triggers available to learn different ways in which to trigger this workflow throughout your CRM.